In this next little section, we're going to talk about formula mass, which looks at the mass of a particular compound. It can be used for ionic or covalent, it doesn't matter. And then that's going to lead us into looking at covalent bonds. Now, covalent bonds are totally different than ionic, totally different type of compound. They're formed differently. They share electrons instead of transferring. So we're going to learn about some of those differences and why they occur. Okay, so for the first mathy type thing that we're going to do, well, other than counting numbers of protons and neutrons and electrons, we're going to look at something called formula mass. Now, depending on the text that you're using, this could also be called molecular mass. Molecular mass. Those are the two most common, molecular mass and formula mass. And what we're going to do is we're going to sum, or we're going to add the masses, the atomic masses of all of the atoms in a compound. So the first one we want to look at, NaCl. Ooh, pop quiz, can you name it? Yes, NaCl is sodium chloride. We're going to find the masses of this particular compound. So you're going to go to your periodic table and you're going to say, oh, we have 1 sodium. Now, we're going to be looking at the masses. We're not looking at the number of protons, electrons, neutrons. We're looking at the total mass, not the number of protons. So if you look at sodium, at the top it says 11. That's the atomic number, the number of protons. And underneath that, it gives you a number that has a bunch of decimals. So the periodic table I'm looking at says 22.99. I think the periodic table that I've given to you in the class is like 22.98 something or another. I want you to go out 1 decimal. Now, rounding rules apply. When we go out 1 decimal, if we're going to round that number out, we go to the next number, so 2 decimals out. And if 2 decimals out is 5 or above, we round the first decimal up. If it's 4 or below, we leave it as is. Now, it turns out if it's a 5, you could go on with more special rules, but we're not going to. So sodium, 22.98 or 22.99, depending on your periodic table, is going to round to 23.0. So I had one of them. Times 23.0 gives me 23.0. Chlorine, I have 1 chlorine. So chlorine is 35.45. Okay, I want 1 decimal, so I look at the second one. It's 5 or above. It's going to cause it to round, that 4 to round up. I have 35.5. Notice I'm still giving 1 decimal. And then I'm just going to add these numbers together. I get 58.5. If we want to put units on it, right now they're used because that's atomic mass units. We're only looking at the mass of 1 molecule or 1 formula unit. Later on you might say a molar mass, that'll be in grams, but that's for later on. The next one, let's see how your naming goes. K2S, K stands for potassium, S is sulfur, which we're going to call sulfide, potassium sulfide. Now with this potassium sulfide, I have 2 potassiums, 2 Ks, so I have 2 times, let's see here, potassium is 39.1, 39.1, see here, that's a 2. I'm trying to do this in my head and we'll see how that goes. You know what, I'm going to grab a calculator really quick just to make sure I don't make mistakes, because that would be pretty embarrassing. It usually happens to me, but it's embarrassing. 78.2. I have 1 sulfur. Sulfur is 32.1. And then we add them together. 10. There we go. Use 110.3. Yep, that's what my calculator tells me. Awesome. Okay, there's one more down at the bottom. This is magnesium hydroxide. We have a special that OH is called a polyatomic ion. We'll see some examples of those. That's not one that I would expect you to be able to name, but we will see some stuff like that later on. Now, it is fair game to be able to figure out how to find the formula mass, though. Now, on this one, it has parentheses. And if you have parentheses, you're going to take the number outside and multiply it by everything inside, just like you would in algebra. So for this particular compound, there's 1 magnesium, there's 2 oxygens, and there's 2 hydrogens. Wow, I just wrote OH right there. Okay, 1 magnesium, 2 oxygens, 2 hydrogens. Let's see here. Magnesium is 24.3. Multiply that out, get 24.3. Oxygen is 16.0. There's 2 of them, so that gives me 32. Remember, it was like 15.998 something or another. We're going to round it to 16.0. Hydrogen is just 1.0. I think it's 1.008, so it rounds to 1.0. Equals 2. Now, if you want to go out more decimals than that, that's fine. But for class, I just request that they do that 1 decimal. We're going to add these all together. That's a 3, 6, 7, 8. 2 plus 3 is 58. 58.3. Again, the units would be U. So that's how you do molecular mass. All right, so let's try a tricky question. What is the formula mass of calcium fluoride? Remember how I said earlier in class that sometimes my questions don't come directly from notes. It uses the concepts that you've developed in notes, but it might require you to put several things together. So this is an example of that. You have to figure out how to deal with trying to figure out a formula, plus then knowing how to find the mass of that formula. So this one says calcium fluoride. So calcium fluoride is an ionic compound. It's made up of calcium and chlorine. But the first thing is to figure out what that formula is. So we're going to go back and look at our Lewis symbols. Calcium has 2 dots because it's in group 2A. Fluorine has 7 because it's in group 7A. Calcium donates an electron to fluorine. Calcium, not happy yet, it still has an electron. Fluorine is very happy. So calcium has to combine the number 3. And it's going to donate its second electron to that 3. Now, once it does that, calcium's going to donate its electrons. Fluorine has accepted the one that it wants. Everything is happy. So the formula here is CaF2. Now, I know right now it seems overwhelming. Oh my gosh, I gotta remember all this. Once you get used to doing this very much, it's going to become like second nature, where you see the name calcium fluoride and you automatically think, oh yeah, that's just CaF2. It's no big deal. So don't get overwhelmed too much. Now, am I done with the question? No. I figured out the formula. What I need to do now is to figure out the formula mass. So I'm going to say, well, there's 1 calcium and there's 2 fluorines. I'm going to consult my periodic table. Calcium, let's see here. Remember, I like to do 1 decimal. Is 40.1. And fluorine is 19.0.